The score is 3-0. This is one of the longest and hardest soccer matches we have seen in a very long time. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we highlight and discuss new series each week. And today we are back with an oldie but a goodie, an oldie for us, a classic for us. We're taking it back. We're finally returning to Dandadan, which means that today my name is Josh Peeny Weenie Michaels. And today I am joined by
Mehgan Chiquita Perrine. We didn't even plan that.
We didn't even plan that. That's awesome. Like I said just moments ago, today we are going to be covering specifically chapters 26.1 through 50 of Dandadan. Even more specifically, the Cursed House arc. It's been a minute. I'm insecure about the high five I gave you too, by the way, because I was like trying to switch the cameras and high five you at the same time.
You're like, yeah, whoa.
And then I overcompensated by just like doing it more. Anyway,
yeah. That's usually how you do it, though.
Yeah, if I'm insecure about something, I just keep
overcompensate it to keep doing it.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you for pointing out my character flaw.
Yeah, my flaws, my character defects. For the world
That's
to
what
see.
I'm here for.
We haven't read Dandadan in a while. It's been a long time since we've covered it, since we read it.
Months. It feels like a year. Maybe like closer to a year now. Maybe not
a year, but it definitely feels like a very, very long time, and it has been a very long time. And like we've said before, when it comes to reading stuff on this show, for this show, we tend to, if we feel like we're ever going to cover something, we tend to not read it so that we can read it as close to when we record as possible so that everything is fresh. So this has been something that has been eating away at me for a very long time, seeing people in our Discord talk about it, other people online talk about it, and feeling like we're missing out.
I feel like I got benched. I feel like I've been benched and everyone else is playing on the court and I'm sitting there with my little water bottle waiting to be called by the coach. And I was frankly sick of it. And
I was sick of it too, but guess what? Mehgan Perrine to the court.
I won't let you down, coach. I won't let you down, coach. I got this for you. And then I grab the ball and I go.
And go ahead, make the shot. Yeah. And speaking of balls, Dandadan's got a lot of balls.
It does.
Golden balls,
in the
soccer
manga,
balls.
and then outside of the manga too.
And then outside too.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect coming back. It had been a long time, obviously, like we said. So I was excited. First and foremost, super excited. There were some people in our Discord at the time who were talking about, feeling like Dandadan kind of fell off. Some people saying it did. Some people saying it didn't. Some people saying that it felt like it did, but then it turns out it didn't. And I just had to find out for myself. We had to find out for ourselves. I didn't know what to expect, but I did not expect it. And we've read a lot of Dandadan. We've been huge advocates and huge fans of the series. Even with all that, I did not expect to have such a good time.
I mean, my expectations were high. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't think it was going to fall off. I mean, knowing where we left off on the story, there would be no way. It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And my expectation was it's going to be good, but I just forgot how good it actually is.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, I knew going into it, I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But how good and how fun, like, genuinely blew me away.
Good?
We were, reading it in the same room, and after we both finished reading it, Mehgan always finishes reading before I do because she's a fast reader and I'm dumb and take a long time.
You're not dumb.
It's the only thing that takes me a long time, if you know what I'm saying. But we both looked at each other like, that was amazing. Like, that was so fun. That was so action packed. It had so much heart, and I knew it was going to be good. But this good, guys, I'm telling you, this shit just keeps getting literally better and better. It might be my favorite Dandadan arc that we've read.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I definitely connected more with this character than the previous. I don't know her name. The other main girl that we met.
100%.
She had a great like story, and her like redemption with Momo was really cute. But this like character, this Gigi guy, I just like, he was just hook, line, and sinker. This is a perfect example, okay, of a simp character done actually well and not fucking annoying. And I'm not gonna say who I'm talking about, but I'll just leave it at that.
Wow.
I like Gigi a lot.
Gigi was awesome. Gigi was so fucking cool. And there was that heartfelt moment at the end of the previous arc when, again, that character comes to Momo and is confronted by her classmates and asked, like, about Momo being scandalous and her being honest and saying, like, I'm the one that started those rumors. She kind of gets, she suffers like, the consequences of that. But it was a really nice moment for her character. However, I agree, despite all that, I am connecting with Gigi almost, not exactly, but almost immediately.
Almost immediately. It's like so much energy. And that's what Dandadan does like the best. I mean, it's so animated, and we said that from the beginning. It just feels like it is like just moving, and it is so thorough, and all the characters seem so like alive, even when they're not like necessarily talking. They're doing something in the background, or they're reacting, or I mean anything and everything. And this character is just so full of like life and fun, and like a believable high school guy or like high school kid. And yeah, his whole backstory, everything that happened in this arc was like just awesome. I mean, I love what Dandadan is able to do with like these twists and turns of like like mixing these two worlds of like alien and ghost, and how there could be things rooted like, oh, this is based off of a myth or a legend, and some of those legends and myths are true, but some of them aren't, and they're just another thing that looks like this thing, and it's an alien or something else. And I just find that so fascinating. It's such a cool story device.
It's creativity here too is just as strong as it was in the very first couple of chapters. The characters that are introduced outside of Gigi, the anatomic model character guy thing, is such a fun character. We see more of the shrimp guy, as they call him, aka Peeny Weenie, and his son. All these other characters that are introduced, as well as the evil eye. I mean, it is just as visually striking, and the aesthetic just remains constantly cool. And I haven't had the experience I have reading this. I don't know that I've had like reading of the series, like something about the way it's drawn. And again, we've talked about it a million times, the dynamic poses outside of the character designs themselves, but just the posing, the action, how everything just looks so incredibly dynamic. It feels as if like the way that it's paced and the way that the paneling and the movement of it all, I mean this. I am not just saying this to sell this even more, or to be dramatic. I really feel like it's in motion when I'm reading it. I feel like I'm watching something animated.
Exactly. And it's, I mean, if we're getting all of these older series getting reanimated, or we're getting manga being animated that you wouldn't have necessarily thought would be getting an anime, like out of all of these series, I just don't know if they haven't done it yet, because it is still coming out. They don't have a lot, maybe 2 anime. I mean, they kind of do, but they kind of don't for like a full first season. Maybe they're waiting, but this is like anime. This has anime all over it.
This has anime all over it. It needs to be. It needs to be, or I'm gonna be pissed. I mean, it has to get an anime. I mean, it would be such a disservice to this series, and hopefully, if it does, they're able to do justice to this art.
And yeah, it's everything. I mean, it's we can gush over this all day. Like, the art's amazing, the fluidity in the fighting is amazing, the fight scenes, the action scenes, all of it. Like, the scales of like the monsters or the aliens or the creatures, and it kind of like at some points being really like actually unsettling and like scary. Yes. And also my favorite about Dandadan is just like the laxed dialogue. It is so real, and it does really, really remind me of Fujimoto, and just like these are people talking.
Yeah.
Like they cuss and they say things that, that don't necessarily make sense, and someone else will question them, or like, it's just so refreshing to see. It's not, you could tell sometimes that it is like this written out story with beats and okay, here's exposition, here's things we need to tell you, but this is just like, it's so natural, and I don't even think about that this is what they're doing.
Yeah. It also sometimes just feels, or simultaneously feels, so campy as well.
Oh yeah.
But
which I love. It's like the corny campiness of all.
Yeah, and in this arc, there seems to be beautiful homage being paid to, definitely it felt a lot like Uzumaki, with a character's name, and Junji Ito, with a character's name even being Juichi Kito, which might not mean anything, but just this arc felt so much like it had a similar vibe to Uzumaki, just things about it. And when you see the shot of the pit and all of the houses,
it was like that
the
rural town,
the family.
and some like conspiracies and like urban myths and legends, and it definitely felt very Uzumaki, like the brainwashed of it all. Like it was really great, and all of the reveals that Dandadan's able to do, like the last chapter that we get, that reveal was just like, oh, I did it again. Like, you motherfucker, you guys did it to me again.
I don't know if you got this vibe either, but from the house, from Gigi's house, when we first see the exterior shot and even the road leading up, I felt like this is Parasite. Like this, it also felt a little like Parasite in that there's this weird house with this weird family. I don't know if you got that vibe at all.
I didn't get that vibe. I can maybe see what you're talking about.
Maybe I'm reaching, but I got it. Like strong.
I didn't really get that. Because it wasn't like it was just the landlords. They weren't necessarily weird.
But I almost mean more specifically too, with just that establishing shot and the architecture and the scenery. Something about it felt similar. Also just this like, on the surface, very normal, very average, but almost too average. Something's up here kind of vibe. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. Let me know in the comments if you felt the same way. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But yeah, I was absolutely blown away. I'm so excited to be back. There are so many amazing things that happen in this arc. And like we said, for me personally, this might be my favorite Dandadan arc of them all. In no way has it fallen off. It's just getting better and better and better. And people were saying that at first they were like, oh yeah, the way Gigi's drawn, like he kind of reminds me of Josh a little bit. I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or
you need earrings.
Yeah, he does. I will take it as a compliment. So
why wouldn't you?
I don't know. He's awesome. He's awesome, but he could be a lot sometimes. I guess. Okay. That look is you saying that I can be a lot sometimes.
I can be a lot sometimes too.
Yeah, you can.
You.
Anyway, you want to start going through it?
Yeah.
Like I said, so many cool moments to talk about. Where we left off to, we kind of left off like I think technically a chapter behind where the arc officially starts. But it opens 26.1 is a chapter that seems to be just a bonus chapter about a genius baboon with this like soda can technology.
Yeah, and he like calls everyone bro.
Yeah.
I imagine him talking like, you're the monkey bro. What's up, bro?
I imagine him talking like Muscle Man.
Yeah.
I could try to do my Muscle Man. He's like, stop littering, bro. A little bit.
One more time.
Okay,
I know you can do it.
I am a genius, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a barely formidable.
Yeah.
And it was cute. And again, like all of that build up to the beginning where we're having that setup between Momo and Okarun. Yeah. I think it's like Okarun, but we have the setup to beginning of like, why they're doing this or what the story is, or like, oh, I'm so late, you always, you made me late and blah blah, and then to find out later he's like, yeah, I took on this job. and I wanted to get you a present. And it's just like, it just wraps up everything so nicely. That's the heart that it has.
Yeah. And that's what Dandadan keeps doing. It keeps doing so successfully and so well is this whole chapter and this whole Cursed House arc. What really stands out and what I feel like was handled really, really well was the relationships, was the jealousy between Okarun and Gigi, and the resolution of these things, and all of it down to the final shot of them in the backseat of a van playing kind of handsy with each other, like kind of dancing,
holding hands.
Well, they're not holding hands. Like
handsy sounds.
They're getting handsy.
More menacing.
They're like playing even that, like the awkwardness of making that move to hold someone's hand. They're kind of, I think Momo is kind of like dancing her fingertips over his fingertips. He kind of like moves away. It's just very cute and handled so well. And it has more development between characters and builds on this relationship, I think, better than a lot of shows or series do where that's the main focus.
Yeah, for sure. And it just goes back to like how natural and like how real all the dialogue and the actions are. Because it is just like, damn, that is like I've been in like a similar situation. Yeah. I think like is so, what's the word? Relatable.
Yeah.
Like Okarun's experience. I was like, damn, I've been there before.
Yeah.
We've all been there before, Okarun.
Yeah. And that's what I think, 26.1 was just ultimately about. It was really cool. It was really cool to start on this like bonus chapter coming back because it was a cool reminder of just where Momo's at with her abilities, how strong she is now, the relationship between her and Okarun, where it's kind of at, how it's kind of been. It was a beautiful spot and a perfect spot to jump back in on because it really did it was a great refresher and a good reminder and made it a lot, I think, more enjoyable going into the official quote unquote beginning of the Cursed House arc. But it was all about just establishing that dynamic and just that sweet ending with the DVD, like you said. Really gets me. This series really gets me. Gets to me and gets me. Yeah. So where it officially opens is everybody eating dinner at Momo's house. Everybody's there.
As they do.
As they do. And I also forget, I meant to look it up and write it down before we started recording, but it slipped my mind. I forget the girl's name from the previous arc. But she's there. The shrimp guy's there. Grandma's there. Okarun's there. Turbo Granny's there in her cat form, in her lucky cat form.
Love that.
Which I love.
Love that.
Because since we've read a lot of Bleach, this totally feels like a Cone character to me.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. You have a spirit that is put in. Well, he's not a spirit, but he's put in a different type of form. And it is totally like, I'm sure there's fan art of Cone and Turbo Granny, but the girl's name is Ira. And I mean, it's so funny because we talk about like, not to bring up One Piece again, but it's like One Piece, Oda likes to draw similar faces and like in the women especially. And Ira and Momo could be fucking sisters.
If it weren't for the color, the hair color. Yeah.
Totally. Like, I mean, if you told me
Momo
got a haircut.
Yeah, no, and dyed her hair.
Wild. That's just something I wanted to point out. But she's also funny. She's kind of like that. I mean, Okarun's kind of like was the straight man until he got the powers and he's like, I gotta do what I gotta do. Yeah. She's more of the straight man that's like, she just thinks she's like the leader of the group and she thinks that she's in charge and you can't make decisions without her. And like, she's always trying to bump Momo out. And she's funny.
Yeah,
we didn't get to see a lot of her, but we got a lot of her in the last arc, so.
Yeah, she's funny and she's great, but I mean, again,
she's no Gigi.
She's no Gigi, dude. Come on, you gotta be honest. She ain't no Gigi. Come on. But we see them all there, and it's such a good way to start. We see these dynamics and how they are, how they've kind of played out. Everybody's kind of arguing. Like Momo is arguing with already
Ira.
Forgot her name, Ira. Okarun is fighting with Turbo Granny, and the grandma is fighting with the shrimp guy. it's just this
It's like this family.
dysfunctional family. Like, is a family that I find myself the most at home with. A little dysfunction, it's perfect.
Not too much though. I don't want. We're living in fantasy.
Yeah.
If it's too much dysfunction, then I'm back in reality. Okay, let's not do that.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, this is a dysfunctional family, but a charmingly dysfunctional family.
Yeah, more of like a chaotic good.
Yeah.
Energy.
It's chaos in there, for sure. But I like
bumping.
it. I like it more than a normal, what you would consider to be more normal.
Boring ass family.
Or as others would say, boring
ass. Yeah, just say it.
Yeah.
Just get it out of the way.
Boring.
But I again love the grandmas. They're kind of explaining what this shrimp guy is, and she just does not at all believe that this is an alien. She's like, it's a kappa. And they're like, it's not a fucking kappa. It's an alien. Look at him. It is not like a kappa.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I mean, he can't be an alien because the aliens aren't real. It's like the spiritual medium or whatever. She's like this like shaman. She's just completely not. She can like just feel things in the air, and like she can't even comprehend like something being in another world.
Well, I think it's interesting what Okurin says though, which I think is part of it, is that it depends on who you talk to. There's no distinction between the two. Maybe spirits are aliens and aliens are spirits, similar to how Momo's asking him, like, tell her that it's an alien, not a kappa. And he says, well, some people would say that the idea of kappas came from aliens. So, I think that a lot of the times it just depends on who you're talking to, whether something is sci-fi or fantasy, because they're both equally as mystical and crazy in their mythologies, I think.
She's like, it's a kappa. And then Momo was like, shut your yappa. It's not a kappa.
And then Okurin was like, no kappa. Yeah.
Yeah, huh?
And then after that, it's a really cool opening shot. Dynamics are established, refreshed for us. The gang needs uniforms, right? Okurin, Momo, and Ira. It's going to be this the whole episode, but not for long because she kind of leaves for a long time.
It's like Irie.
I was using that as a mnemonic device, and then it kind of,
yeah.
Ira.
Everything will be Irie. Ira, Momo, and Okurin need
uniforms. And the grandmother says that she'll buy them for Ira and for Okurin, but not for Momo. And if she really wants it, then she has to work for it. So by working for it, she means just like doing this impression of this, I believe, like actor, or something.
Which is like not really a punishment. She's like begrudgingly doing it. I'm like, you're just in the house, like that's all you have to do.
No, but she knows she's gonna toy with her and make her do it everywhere, like she does. The doorbell rings, and she's like, keep up the impression.
Keep it up, kid.
Keep it up. And she answers the door, and here is where we meet for the very first time the one, the only Gigi. Gigi. And I forgot to mention too before we move on too fast, because this does come into play later. We see after, at the dinner table, the resolution of the dinner table.
This made me laugh out loud.
We do see the shrimp guy, right? Who is saying that the only reason he's taking on these jobs is because on his planet, it's hard to make an honest living, or his race has been used as warriors, but he's bad and weak. So he has to, take up these like criminal jobs, but he's doing all of it to get money to buy blood for his son.
Yeah, because he's very sick and needs like blood transfusions. But just the setup, everyone's like yelling and like, being crazy. And then it's just like, my son's sick. I was like,
yeah. Yeah. And then for it to turn out that, when he means blood, and I love that they do this too with the dialogue, whenever there's a really alien phrase or sci-fi phrase, a phrase that's beyond comprehension, or a word doesn't exist for it in the English language. It's like the mangaka will draw hieroglyphics in place of whatever that word is. And I just think that's a really cool thing. So he needs blood transfusions every day. And the grandma like starts to, smell him and take some whiffs of him and realizes like, yeah, your blood is milk. Like your blood is milk. And
your blood is milk, bro.
Your blood is milk, bro, and we got a lot of milk. So I'll give you, but the milk that we buy in stores is diluted for human consumption. So I'll just give you a cow.
I loved that panel. It is so classic sci-fi alien shit. I mean, it's like, everyone's looking up at this giant UFO and here comes a little cow getting beamed up. Like, so funny. Like, they do sometimes from time to time, especially like right here, just use like classic, alien or like horror devices that are like, oh, I know that.
But in such a campy and cool ass fucking way.
Yeah.
This panel was amazing. And to see his ship, which is clearly like, I mean, it's not, but it looks like it has these like Mickey Mouse ears. It looks like Mickey Mouse ears on a Millennium Falcon. It's exactly what it looks like. And he's, of course, eternally grateful and indebted to them and says that he'll do anything for them if they need him to. And I forgot to mention that, but that is very important because it does come into play by the end of all this. Then the uniform thing, then the impressions thing, then Gigi, who is also revealed to be Momo's first love, and Okarun definitely has a negative reaction.
He has a moment. He has a little moment. And, they've been like, nothing's been said, but, I'm sure There's vibes. And they both know it, but they're not doing anything about it. So maybe this will be the push.
Yeah, Okarun needs a little push. And it's cool to see how all of this is played out and how and everything that he goes through and everything that he experiences because of Gigi. But it's so funny because we get to see that dynamic picked back up again outside where he's kind of like, doubting himself or feeling really insecure, not wanting to encroach on what he is sure to be this relationship, this childhood friendship that is way stronger than whatever him and Momo have because it's based on years, even though there's been a gap, it's based on years of knowing one another and that bond that they formed as children, all these memories and all these other things.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that, he's moving into their house. I mean, they are related, but still. And
it doesn't help that he's like athletic and that
tall.
He's in shape, in real good shape. Yeah.
Yeah, he's everything that Okarun is not, pretty much, and he sees that at full display. He's like, damn. But he moves in, obviously transfers to the school, and he is just like a very charismatic, like high energy guy. And then you like realize too that, his parents got sick. His parents are sick, and that's why he has to stay with them. And there's like a very scary ghost lanky fool in his house that he thinks is responsible for his parents being sick and all the misfortune and stuff.
He's introduced to be, and I want to get to this moment too with them outside, with Okarun and Momo outside, because we also see we pick back up where that "see you tomorrow," which was such a big thing.
Oh yeah. I thought you meant outside at the school. Yeah, outside of the house.
That such a big part of the first kind of arc or the first couple chapters, and we see kind of where that's at. So we see Momo, obviously Okarun feeling insecure, wanting to go home and just like tail between his legs, kind of leave. And Momo's like, "Where are you going?" And like, "I'm gonna see you tomorrow, right?" And he's like, "Oh." Yeah. And she's like, well, yeah, it's your turn to say it, by the way, just to see kind of like that's where they're kind of at, where they're both still kind of being stubborn about admitting, or one person being overly excited about wanting to be around the other. So they have this system in place where they trade off. So it's equal who is going to say, "See you tomorrow." And they both kind of blush, and Momo kind of like, is like playing with her hair. It's just very, very cool. But the thing about the Gigi character too is he's introduced to be such a playful, happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
And is woken up after we find out all those things about his cursed home and his parents being in the hospital. He wakes up in the middle of the night, and this like fisheye sort of frame of him waking in a cold sweat, terrified, thinking back to this, like you said, lanky, kind of demonic creature.
It's scary.
Terrifying.
It's so scary. There's times in Dandadan where it gets you. Like I remember in the first couple chapters with like the aliens in the suits, like that shot of them like at the end of the hallway. It's very iconic, and it's very like I can't even imagine being in that situation.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that was a very unsettling moment for sure, because we see that he is genuinely, despite his exterior, he is very shaken up by what's happening. or what's been happening. And Momo's grandma has also said like, and he has told Momo too that he can see spirits now. He's in tune with all these things. And like you said, they go to school. Okuran is feeling very, very insecure still.
Head on the desk,
imagining what they must be getting up to, and goes to eat lunch alone. I'm pretty sure I read this right, and I might have been reading into it, but I don't think so. But he instead of eating lunch with Momo like maybe he would normally do, he goes like to a secret area of the school, behind the school, whatever, and is like exercising. And I think that those exercises come into play later, and it is the reason he's able to use this like special move against Gigi.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Because he's doing like squats. Like he's like when he's punching him later, saying like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like he's in a squat position.
That would make sense. I mean, he has just been working out regardless. He had like didn't he have like weights on his like legs, and he'd have to walk around.
Well, that was a crazy moment too, because right before Gigi shows up to ruin this moment, him and Momo are outside eating lunch, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna train," and he's lifting weights, these little, those little mom weights, and she says, "Well, if your hands are full, like I could just feed you," and he's like,
"Yeah, if you want, like it's not a big deal, like you don't have to stress about it or anything."
Yeah, big time moment. And
big time Momo moment.
And right before it happens, of course, Gigi shows up.
Gigi freaking lurks around the corner.
But
hey guys, what's up? Just like blissfully unaware.
Yeah.
And like Gigi, like he's the type of guy that like obviously they're cousins. Okay, let's not get that twisted. So
who?
Gigi and Momo.
They're not cousins.
I thought they were cousins.
No, they're childhood friends.
Oh, I thought they were cousins for some reason.
Where did you get that from?
I don't know.
No, they're just childhood friends. They grew up
together.
Yeah.
Like nice together.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think at school you might have maybe got that
because they said that.
She was trying to lie about that because she didn't want people to think that she's just living with some guy.
You're right. So yeah, I mean, all's
it's all fair.
It's all fair game.
What's the saying? All is fair in love and war. Is that it? That's a saying.
I don't know the saying, so I'm just gonna say you're right. I'm gonna say you're right. So yeah.
But we meet another character at that moment too. One of my new favorite fucking characters that just seemed at the time to have such a random, nonsensical placement in this story until the very end, and that is the like the science anatomy model. What do you call them?
Yeah, like an anatomy model.
Yeah,
he has like one half is like no skin, so it has all like organs and you could see all of it, the muscles, and the other half is just like a guy. But he's like running after them full sprint. Yeah. And they're like, what the hell? And he's giving them like kind of a run for their money.
Well, yeah, I mean, he jumps over Momo's head and Momo thinks she sees a golden testicle.
Golden nut.
Which they are still on the hunt for from I think I forget obviously Ira, but I think it was like the silky devil or demon or
the one that was after Ira?
Yeah.
The one that took his ball? I think so. Or maybe even like earlier than that.
Yeah, but they think, they're still on the hunt for that nut. And they think they found it. So they try to go after him. And Momo is just, her powers and her abilities are so sick. And she seems to finally have a good handle on them. And she's grabbing him. And, well, she intends to stop him. But he's just running. And he's saying the whole time, like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. And they end up being pulled. And, of course, Gigi's trying to be the hero. So he like, I'll protect you. And then they both end up getting pulled. But that just means it's the perfect time for old Okuran to go turbo granny again.
On him.
Which was...
on him real quick.
Which was just, I love it every single time. Like I fucking...
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the transformations always look slightly different. And I appreciate that too. It seems like we're sitting with him or seeing him at various stages of him coming in and out of this form. and I'm a sucker for it. They go chase him around. They think they got a good grasp on him, but he is able to, dissect, or his entire body comes apart. And that allows him to escape and reassemble and escape. But Momo holds onto his heart and just kind of grabs it. And that's how they find him, because she just grabs his heart. And they just hear from the distance, and they just follow that. Again, at the time I'm reading this, I can't help but think, this is so fun. This is so cool. I love all of this. But we just found out that Gigi's house is cursed. We just found out that Momo is going to get the uniforms that she needs, a lifetime supply of uniforms, if she goes to this cursed house. The arc is called the Cursed House. Why are we spending so much time here? Why wasn't the next chapter them going to the cursed house? Boy, was I made a fool.
It's set up.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it because you're having so much fun.
I was having a good time. I want to be very clear about that. But I was also like, why aren't we there yet? But again,
you're freaking little kid in the back of the car.
Yeah.
When are we going to be there?
Are we there yet?
In a second.
Yeah, I was like that Ice Cube movie.
Yeah.
Are we there yet?
Yeah.
What came first, the saying or the movie?
The movie. Ice Cube, the movie.
That's the world. Yeah, that's the world I choose to live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was all so fun. But at the end of it, we find out that he is just looking, that it wasn't a golden ball. It was a Christmas ornament that they thought was a golden ball. He's looking.
Grandma's like, okay, that's literally ridiculous. Like the one thing they're looking for, it's like just so happens to be gold. Like so funny. Just like a funny explanation of like, okay. Or like, there's like little things that they say like, well, that could actually like help your enemy. It's like, okay, then why would that help me at all?
Oh, well, that's later too when that's just, from Turbo Granny.
Yeah.
When she says, because she's a lucky cat. What are they? Dolls or statues or whatever. And she says, yeah, my luck. And it's so convenient too. Like, my luck is for everybody. Like it could, I mean, you could have it, you could reap the benefits of it. The enemy could reap and Momo's like, that doesn't help us at all, number one. And number two, that's very convenient. Like that it could just be anybody for anybody.
Yeah, just little things like that's just, again, like, even Gigi says like, are dirty jokes like really this popular?
Yeah, that was funny. Turns out he's looking for his girl, of course. And she's another.
Of course. I never, not of course. I never would have guessed what he was doing. I never would have guessed in a million years that he was fighting another half of an atomical freaking body. I was like, what?
You know what it really reminded me of? And just in the sense that they're two like humanoid dolls looking for each other. It really, and I don't think we ever get to see the other one talk.
The mouth doesn't move, but she says stuff.
I can't.
She says stuff. Maybe
she does. Either way, it's still reminding me a lot of. Did you ever see that Bob's Burger episode where the guy said he was a mannequin come to life, and he was in love with this other mannequin that got like moved to like another department store, and so they have to bring him back, or like they have to reunite the two of them and do a Christmas display and in the front of their store. You don't remember this episode?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. I remember the display part.
Yeah. The whole time I just got that same vibe. And just because it's two like dolls or mannequin things. Because she's there, the girl, like he is humanoid, but she's like on a stick and she doesn't have any arms or legs.
She's like a half.
Yeah. She's like just torso and head. But it was so funny too, the next panel. Momo and everybody is begging the grandma to let her stay. And they've put her in like a beanie and like hoodie. And it's just so cool. And they say that they told the other guy that he didn't end up having a golden ball at all. It was a Christmas ornament, but he just wants to visit her. She was thrown out. Can she stay here? And can he come visit? And the grandma's like, I mean, I guess, but what does this have to do with anything? Like, why is this a thing? And another thing that I have to deal with on top of all the other, like Gigi's there now, Turbo Granny's there now. Like she has a lot to deal with. But that was a very, very, very funny chapter and a very, very funny moment. But also what was at the heart of this was Okuran overseeing the story, the love between the two anatomy dolls.
Oh yeah, I drew his little moment here.
Oh, where he had a full panel, full page pout.
It was like a pout where like he like blew out his nose like a German, like
Yeah.
you know, he was like, I'm pumped, I'm ready. You know, he's determined.
Because the mannequin says a line that really resonates with him, and he says that if I don't do something, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And that seems to really echo in his head for the remainder of the arc, or at least for a good chunk of it. Now it's time to go to Gigi's house. So Okarun.
Oh, we forgot to mention that Momo and Okarun are gonna go exercise his house.
Oh yeah, they're all three going.
Yeah, because he thought that like Granny was gonna go. He was like, "Nah, this is like for Momo. Then we can get the uniforms for you." And
yeah, because her powers, she's established it before that her powers don't work outside of that city. So yeah, they all go, and this was a another very sweet moment that I did not expect. Okarun is mad jealous on the train, and he's playing this very real game, a very real game that I think we've all played, especially when we were younger, when we feel like, you know, someone is getting someone else's attention that we want their attention, and someone else is doing a way better job at getting their attention than we are. So we try to just make shit up or just do whatever we can to get it, and it always comes across weird or doesn't come across right. And
or it's like not even getting the attention of like the person.
Right.
It's like getting the attention of the person that's giving the attention so that they can't entertain the other person any longer.
Oh, that's a good one too.
That's what it is.
That's a
like
good
not
move.
talking. Yeah. And like, you know, they're having Momo and Gigi are talking. He's like trying to talk to Gigi. So that I think
at first he was trying to talk to Momo. At first he was just trying to get.
It's just.
But that's a strategy right there.
That's what you do.
You're on some demon time
It's
right
relatable.
Now. I mean, it is very relatable, but see, that tactic I never even thought. I was someone I was trying to get.
Because then they'll know. They'll be like, oh, they're talking to them. I see what's going on here. If you're talking to them, they think you're just making conversation. They think you just want to talk. But as you're talking to them, they're not talking to them. So that's what you want.
Touche, Megan. She got the moves.
I don't know about moves.
Yeah.
I don't know about moves. It's more not a good thing to do.
I mean, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
It's
but
harmless.
I loved this moment. This was one of the highlights for me. It was that moment with Okarun and Gigi, and you know, he is trying to distract Momo, but in the same moments, Gigi's kind of talking to him like, "Oh my gosh, dude! Like, you know so much about all this occult stuff. Like, that's really cool." And he's kind of like thrown off a little bit. He's like, "Oh, yeah." And you know, the Loch Ness monster. There's actually findings, and he starts rattling stuff off, and they're talking to each other like, you know, nothing normal. And it was so relatable too. It was like that moment when they're having that great conversation, and they get off the train, and he's just like, damn, like I wish he wasn't likable.
Yeah.
Like I really wish he was an asshole,
Yeah,
because it would be so much easier.
Yeah. The way it was written too, with him saying one of his initial fears being that if Gigi took Momo away from him, that he wouldn't have anybody to talk about this UFO stuff with anymore. But then in the middle of this train ride, he says to himself, I haven't been able to talk to anybody this way. Like the only other person I've been able to talk to is Momo. So outside of Momo, no, I can talk to no one about this stuff. And he's really starting to realize it. And just the way it was written, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful and again
so
cute and relatable moment.
It was like, oh, they're bonding.
Although I do feel like most of the time in real life, the other person is usually not as likable, you know, because they shouldn't
be doing that.
Well, because they're, you know,
they're in the wrong.
At least in my personal experience, usually the other person is always cooler than you, and that makes them not likable. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'm fine. Moving on.
It's okay.
Then they get to this town, this isolated town, and they're kind of getting a lay of the land. There's a hot spring there that Momo takes note of, and
I would kill to be in a hot spring.
I've never been in a hot spring. I don't imagine.
I've never been in a hot spring either, but I would kill to get in one.
You would
It's just
murder
really-
somebody to get into a hot spring.
Yeah.
You could just go to a hot spring. Yeah, and that's the end of that. Met with silence.
It seems so relaxing. But yeah. So
But
some
sussy shit happens to this hot
So
spring.
a lot
later.
of sus. Oh yeah, super sussy. They get to the house, and it kind of, you know what it reminded me of? Like,
Parasite.
no, The Ring.
Okay.
It kind of looked like The Ring house a little bit.
Okay.
Or is it The Ring? No, not The Ring. It is The Grudge.
Okay.
The Grudge house.
Didn't take note of the architecture. in
The Grudge house. And they walk up, and as they're walking up, Okarun notices that like the whole neighborhood committee or some shit is watching them in the fucking forest.
Yeah. And the stairs leading up to his house are like the longest set of stairs
Yeah.
ever. And they both, Momo and Okarun, kind of look at each other and go, yeah, we're not going to really question this. We're not going to even ask. But it's like very steep and a very long stairwell, whatever case up to his house. And you find out why later, because there's so much shit that's been built on top of it. But yeah, the creepy family is watching them from the woods. They go inside. Everything seems normal. Nothing seems amiss.
Even Momo's like outside. He's like, can you feel it? Can you sense it? She's like, no, I can't sense anything.
Yeah.
And she kind of chops it up to be, if they're hiding from me, if I can't sense them, they're probably hiding, which means that they're weak. And it's going to be, easy peasy to get these fools out of here. Fool out of here.
Yeah.
So she decides to go on her own, which is like the best thing to do when you're in a, town full of creepy people watching you.
Yeah.
And she goes to the hot spring to, cool off, chill. And at this time, Okarun and Gigi are kind of looking around his house and, getting the lay of the land, I guess.
Well, before that, they have a really another great bonding moment / they both kind of show each other's hand to
when
each
they're
other
playing
when they're playing soccer. Cocker? When they're playing cocker. You heard it here first. I think Gigi's got Mehgan over here's brain scrambled.
No, I meant to say soccer.
But instead you said cocker. Where people kick cocks around. Yeah. Better.
Oh my god.
Make it in the. Better drive that cock into the hole. The score is 3-0. This is one of the longest and hardest soccer matches we have seen in a very long time. That hole is so hard to get into. The cocker keeps barely missing.
Oh my god.
No, that one is all the way in.
Gosh.
And this game has come to an epic conclusion. Yeah, cocker. It's like
Cocker.
It's like Quidditch. It's like Quidditch. They're just flying around on cocks. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
We have to get out of here.
I've got the Nimbic 3000.
The
The Nimbic. It's like the Nimbus. I've got the fireballs because there's a fireball broom as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're playing soccer. Okay. They're playing football, if you will.
Yeah.
If you're not in the States.
Football.
And this is another kind of semi-bonding moment, but more than anything, it is them, again, showing each other's hand to each other, admitting to each other that they both have feelings for Momo. At first, it comes from Gigi kind of helping teach Okarun how to kick a soccer ball, and then kind of interrogating him about his relationship with Momo, saying that he must care about her a lot. And Gigi says that, he does, which makes Okarun puff his chest out and say, like, well, actually, I care about her more than you care about her.
No, I like he's like, you like her, right? He's like, no, I don't like her. I respect her. And he's like, yeah, well, I like her. I like her personality. And she's really pretty. And he's like, yeah, but I like all those things, but I also respect her. You forgot respect.
Yeah.
And he's just like trying to one up him.
And it's like, no. Well, I respect her too, but I also like her. I respect her. I like her personality, and I like her mouth. And then he's like, I mean, I like her mouth too, but I also like her ears. And they just keep. And then he says like, that doesn't count. That's part of her head or face or whatever. And it's a very funny exchange of dialogue between the two of them. And it is, again, like they're now we see that they are both in competition, because you don't know necessarily at this point if Gigi for sure feels this way.
Or he's just being like flirty and annoying because he knows that it like annoys her.
Exactly. Then they decide to go inside and they punch a hole in the wall or, knock a hole in the wall by accident. They peer through the hole and they see like a dark room full of these like seals. Or what seem to be these like seals, and then they hear a knock on the door, and it is the Kito family, creepiest fucking family I've ever seen. And they're there, and they begin to interrogate Okarun and Gigi, and they're just being it is strange because they could be normal people, they could be normal humans, but there is just something ever so slightly off about them, and the way that they talk. This is before things get crazy, but even still, when they're just there, and the way that their eyes they are looking through you, and they're so inquisitive and so sinister, and it's just kind of right underneath what they're presenting to you, and it's just like, oh, it's creepy, it's crawly. But when they ask him like, yeah, you've been bringing you didn't bring another, spirit medium over here, did you? And he's like, no, this is my buddy. I left to go, get my buddy.
Yeah, and see, like, already off the bat, you're like, okay, he's lying for a reason to these people. Like, they're not buddies.
Yeah. And then later, the rest of the gang show up to interrogate them as well. But the reason that they're not there at this moment in time is because they're at the hot spring. With Momo.
Inside the hot spring with Momo.
This is the most shocked I've been since probably the very beginning, when Momo was getting picked and prodded by the aliens who had phallic tools.
Yeah.
This was crazy because, again, at first, I don't know if these are the way Dandadan, the way the series draws people. They could be people. They could be ghosts,
reptiles
in
aliens.
Skin suits. Yeah. But these guys look so fucking weird and creepy, but also human. And they get into, they're like, hey, you look pretty young. You look pretty cute. It's kind of bold of you to come to this like co-ed, hot spring.
I love that. She's like, the sign is literally ineligible. Like, I did not know this was a situation.
Yeah. And then they,
I don't know what's more horrifying, like that real situation or what happens next.
This got me very uncomfortable.
I would be like, oh, I've done it now.
They're calling themselves gators, and they're getting in the hot spring water just at nose level, and they're all starting to swim towards her, presumably to like take advantage of her being this only young girl naked in this hot spring with 6 grown men. It is terrifying, but luckily, either thanks to her own powers or Turbo Granny's powers, everything starts collapsing around them, and they get squashed by the walls of the hot spring. So Momo dodged a bullet there, thank God, and the cops come, and it's clear that the cops are kind of on their side a little bit, or protect them and escort them back to the house that Gigi and Okarun are at. And then that guy proceeds to question Okarun and say like, oh yeah, you're his friend, huh? Well, if you're his friend, then what's his favorite soccer team? But something about the way that moment is just the pacing of it, the way that the questions sort of just like feel like they hang in the air.
Well, it's just a weird in general, because it's like he's asking all these questions like he's like his father or like someone who's in charge of him, but these are just people that are like his renters, and they're just a family. So that's why I got like a weird vibe from the beginning, because I was like, you wouldn't let your landlords do this. You're not family to these people. Like, why are they treating you like you're doing something wrong? Mm-hmm. And I understand like the rent part where they're like allowing him to stay there, and maybe that's why they're being so like, where are you? Where have you been? Like, whatever. But like, I mean, what does it matter? That's when I knew something was like, okay, this is obviously the seals when, something was up. But with just the guy interrogating Okarun, I'm like, what is it? Why? And why is he telling him like to lie?
Mm.
And
then they tell him about it. It's so scary because then he goes, because the guys were just at the hot spring with Momo. So they end up saying like, oh yeah, there was 3 of you. And there was a girl with you. Where is she? And Gigi goes, girl, like there was no girl with us. And then they say, well, now we know you're lying. And then it cuts and we don't get to see them until later when Momo shows up. But Momo, after leaving the hot springs, is now visiting this shrine. She sees this guy at this shrine who I assume wants to be a YouTuber. But it's called BooTuber.
Oh, I read it as BookTuber.
I read it as BooTuber. Because I
like
kept,
YouTuber.
Yeah, like YouTuber.
Like Boo, like
yes.
Ghosts.
Yeah,
that's probably more it. I read BookTuber. I don't know why.
Maybe he wants to be a booktuber too. Who knows? Damn,
like,
shit.
No, he did say BookTuber because she goes like, why don't you just talk about that on your... Oh, well, no, it'd be like he won't tell stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, BooTuber it is.
Yeah, it was,
but
I'm 99% sure.
He was pretty funny. I liked him at first.
I liked him.
And I liked him.
Time.
Yeah, I liked him later.
Time.
That's what I meant. But I liked him at first when I met him.
Yeah, and the message that we the theme, I guess, of what a lot of this is going to be, he pretty much states at this moment when he says that there was a time when a lot of people, and this is what I mean about Dandadan just like coming around and having all this heart, because there was a time I feel like people had no idea how things worked.
How nature worked. I mean, people would, people do that now today, but they would, again, like these people do seances or like, dancing or sacrifices
the Salem witch trials. They were burning women at the stakes, like setting people on fire because of magic that was just medicine or healing that they were doing by whatever
mixing herbs together.
Means that they were doing it. But he basically says there was this volcano here and it would erupt. And people started sacrificing people to this god. And it's a snake lord, this giant serpent. And ever since then, the eruption stopped. But it's a very like kind of barbaric and archaic sort of ritual. And he basically says that people who cannot think or have ceased to think because of fear resort to these ancient rituals that are so harmful and do nothing. And he's there to make sure that this prophecy doesn't come true and that nothing like this ever happens again. Like these things don't happen again. And this was again such a really cool moment in the middle of this arc.
I mean, I was just thinking about this right now. I was like, this fool is living in the town. He has no clue that people are getting sacrificed.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? I don't know if necessarily, people might be going missing. I'm sure he has some sort of idea, but the way he also says it too is that they have kind of, it seems kind of strange because he's also saying that they have kind of lied about this thing. They've called it the name of this like famous like cryptic, which is what like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster are. Cryptics are like creatures that scientifically it's scientifically like implausible for them to exist. They're calling it this thing to attract tourists there, some sort of tourism. Because he says like the only way that you can get people like interested in this is if you call it this other thing. So he seems to be someone who is just kind of like at this shrine all the time and is maybe making sure that this prophecy about the dragon in the sky and the rainbow and things like that doesn't come true. I don't know if he's necessarily like, maybe the ritual thing he just assumes is not happening anymore, therefore doesn't need to be on the lookout for any suspicious activity. Maybe he already thinks they're suspicious. I don't know. But that's kind of what I am thinking. Could be very wrong though. But this is when Momo gets all that information and then goes back to the house and sees the Kito family there, and they beat the shit out of Okarun and beat the shit out of Gigi.
That panel was really, really cool. And again, like right before they're going to the house, like Turbo Granny is now in the picture. Before Momo didn't even know that she was with her. But she says like, oh yeah, that house is like soaked in human blood. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
and that was funny too, because Turbo Granny's talking about, I heard hot spring and I, climbed in the back. And Mom was like, you could have just asked to come with us and you could have just come.
Yeah, she's a Tsundere Turbo Granny.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is when, she finds everybody. They, Momo has a fight. She fights the Kito family. Specifically, I forget her name, Naki Kito. Mm-hmm. And she gets knocked through the wall.
Ooh,
how about that?
That was really good.
Thank you. And that fight was so sick. So sick. Like Momo holding her own against these fucking crazy ass people.
She got Kikto.
Okay.
Kikto through the wall.
All right. I like the tactic of just standing still and smiling, because then it puts all the focus on me, and I feel it, and it worked. So congrats. It's great. You can say anything. All right, moving on. This was such a cool fight. This was such a cool moment, and Momo for the most part is holding her own against this entire family.
Yeah.
Until she's not, and gets knocked through the wall, and then they fall down the Snake Lord's home. We find out, of course, that the home is this Kito family allows these other families to move in, and they are them. The ritual, the sacrifices for this Snake Lord. So they fall down the Snake Lord's hole, the pit. They fall through the pit.
Yeah, thank you. You're saying a lot of holes lately.
There's a whole lot of holes. I mean, worms, worms dig holes. I can't help it. Just doing my job. But
doing my worm job.
Okay.
Worm.
Just doing my worm job. All right, Megan. All right. So they fall down this hole, and then that is where we see this, like, what I felt like was a very, like, Uzumaki-esque sort of homage to, right? Mm-hmm. And we see that, of course, the houses have been buried on top of each other for generations and generations and generations. But it's not a Snake Lord down there. It is a cryptid known as a Mongolian death worm, according to Okarun, who basically says he's never seen any or heard of any being this big before. But we also have learned at this point, too, I believe, right, a little bit earlier, that the people that Gigi called to the house, like he called like 5 of them to the house.
Oh yeah, they all died.
And 3 of the 5 killed themselves.
I thought it was all of them.
I don't know why I remember it, because I remember
3
it
of the
5. I felt like that was very purposeful for them to say 3 of the 5 unalive themselves. I'm sorry. But we find out why in a very short bit. But now we know this giant worm down there. And I thought this was interesting too, because at the time I thought like, oh wow, we've kind of done supernatural, we've kind of done alien. Now we're going to do sort of like a cryptid thing. And it is kind of a cryptid meets supernatural, or meets, supernatural kind of thing, which I, again, really, really, really enjoy.
Well, that's what I liked about, that's why I like Dandadan so much, because it is like a cryptid. It's not like this god. It's not this like otherworldly being. It is just like this animal or like this species that, like a Bigfoot or like any of the Loch Ness Monster, like that, people probably over time, if they saw this thing back in the day, they'd be like, oh, this is a god because of just like how it looks,
it's big it is,
what it does. So it was just like so cool that they think it's a god, and they're like, well, this is a worm. It's a giant worm. It's a worm, and we're gonna kill it, and that's it.
And speaking of kill, this is about the time where everybody's kind of fleeing, everybody's kind of running around from the worm, from the Kito family, because they fell down as well. They get into this room of this other house deeper, And all of a sudden, Momo and Okarun start talking about how they want to harm themselves, unalive themselves.
I mean, they're showing it. They're trying to like stab themselves. They're trying to do crazy stuff. And, Turbo Granny pretty much explains that it's the vibrations from the worm that are giving them these signals to want to do this.
Well, it's the worm that responds. The worm obviously has no eyes, so it's the vibrations are how it hears where you're at. Because Gigi noticed that it didn't respond to the sound from their mouth.
Yes.
So it only uses vibrations as a means to locate its prey. But it emits psychic waves.
The waves is what I meant.
That make people want to unalive themselves. And there's even a freaking awesome reason for that too. But yeah, that was a crazy moment because again, they're just trying to harm themselves. So Turbo Granny and Gigi, Turbo Granny's telling Gigi like, tie him up. And it gets to this point where he can only do so much before Gigi has to throw his body in front of these shards of glass that Momo was using her powers to try to hurt herself with. And there's just this epic sequence of him just getting stabbed with these shards of glass, becoming so frustrated.
Freaking in the eye.
In the eye.
He gets cut in the eye.
Through the hand, the palm of his hand.
Like, he's going out. And if you're going to roll with freaking Momo Okarun, you better be prepared for fucking fighting because they get thrown around a lot.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Though.
Oh, yeah.
Ew.
They throw down, those two. They do. They throw down.
They get thrown around and thrown down.
Yeah.
And
but they get up again.
He was holding his own for a little bit. And again, what Dandadan does best, I'm pretty sure it is right here when we figure out the whole evil eye backstory, which was so amazing and so cool. And that's where we really get to question, like, these people, the Kito family, are not human. Because
well, for sure, the mother isn't.
The mother. Because we are told this evil eye story, this backstory about this kid who was, like, kept in a house, starved, watching little kids play outside, and he was chosen to be a sacrifice for this worm, the snake god. And you see the mom like giving the chant or whatever, like pretty much, and then like burning him alive.
Well, what was crazier is that, so yeah, because at first Gigi, after his heroic moment, he realizes that the powers have stopped, and it's because the evil eye shows up. So the evil eye and the worm are separate things now, which he thought that there was one thing causing this problem, but it's two things. And the reason that Momo and Okarun have snapped out of it now is because they both have this ability to make people want to unalive themselves, but they're canceling each other's abilities out, which allows for Gigi to get closer to this thing and go inside of its mind, which Turbo Granny warns him not to do because this thing is a very harmful spirit and will try to trick him. But once Gigi's in there and sees his past, he sees that before all that, this kid was chosen, seems like it was chosen to be a sacrifice since birth, and has been forced into this like dungeon sort of cage like thing under this hill, and just gets to peek through these bars and see these other kids playing, and is a scrawny, just dry, dirty kid who is looking out and just wanting nothing more than to play with these other kids day after day after day after day, until, like you said, he's tied up in front of this volcano, this altar, which this house is built on top of, and so many other houses are built on top of. Gets burned alive, but doesn't even fucking die. He gets sacrificed to the volcano, burned alive, doesn't die, is still alive, and is picked apart by birds. Awful. And then is turned into a ghost. And another house, and like you were saying, this is where we see the mother of the Kito family is there at this time. So that's where we start putting together that she's not human. They build a house on top of this altar. Another family moves in. Their kid can see this first kid's ghost. And he's trying to connect with this kid. The ghost is trying to connect with this kid, but he can't because they can't interact with each other. They can see each other.
But the kid's scared shitless.
The kid's scared shitless. And as some sort of, I don't know, just like what do you call it? What is it? Not like damage. It's an accident. He doesn't mean to do it. I don't think the kid doesn't mean to do it, but something damage. What is the fucking word?
Damage.
Anyway, but the ghost kid's ability or whatever makes that kid's parents unalive themselves. So now that kid is even more afraid. The Kito family then says like, okay, well, we'll just make this kid the sacrifice, and this kid has a bowl cut, and he looks more like he looks more like and resembles more the lanky spirit that is the evil eye in terms of they have that same bowl cut. So the original ghost kid tries to save this kid, can't save him because he can't touch the rope. His hands keep going through the rope, and then just ends up merging and using this kid's body as a vessel to become the evil eye, which all of it was just like, oh my God, I am enthralled.
Yeah, it was really good. Dandadan does that best. These ghost backstories are like always elite.
Yeah. It was so powerful. It was so crazy. And Gigi, being the good guy that we know he is, empathizes and feels really bad and wants to play with him and promises to play with him and wants to help him. And the whole time Turbo Granny's like, it's a trick. Do not do it. Do not do it. And he approaches this kid and says like, I'll play with you like forever. And that's when he says, well, you said it. And they fuse together and he becomes the vessel. Gigi becomes the vessel for the evil eye, which that character design,
He's like freaking
so
Thanos.
Cool. You know, he kind of reminded me of, I don't know exactly what character, but he reminded me of a character.
Silver Surfer.
No. He reminded me of a character from like One Punch Man for some reason. Maybe a combination of a couple characters, maybe a little bit like Genos and a little bit like another villain that Saitama had to fight, but I forget his name. Either way, awesome design. All these designs, when they fuse with these spirits, become vessels for these spirits. So fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
And this is no exception. It's probably the best one. I found myself struggling during this, thinking like, do I like Gigi and Gigi's form and abilities and power? Do I like them more than Turbo Granny? And I had to like really think about it. And I think that they're pretty equal to me, but Turbo Granny's the OG. Turbo Granny wins. But that's how cool Gigi is. I'm like, this is fucking crazy because he has all these abilities. He creates these barriers that look like houses.
Yeah.
And he takes all the spirits of all the children and all the people that were sacrificed to the Snake Lord, and he gathers them all together into this like spirit ball. And with this barrier, there's so many cool lines where he says like, because the worm has lightning. This worm has lightning that it can discharge. And he builds this house barrier and says like, he's giving this speech about like all these sacrifices, all these people who've grown to hate humans, they reject everything. And then the lightning kind of bounces off the house. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. What am I reading? And why has it taken me this long to read it? I was enthralled. I was in love. I was obsessed with everything happening. And of course, when Gigi does come to as the vessel for the evil eye, he is saying that he wants to kill all humans. So it does seem like it was sort of a trick.
It was definitely a trick. Yeah. And I'm kind of glad it was. I'm glad there was like that conflict and it was like more than just the snake, the worm.
Mm-hmm. They're setting him up to me, I don't know how you felt reading it, but to me, they're setting him up to be maybe if this thing gets out or doesn't get under control, like a very
formidable opponent.
Like in
the future. Yeah. One of the main antagonists.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Maybe one of their main antagonists.
Which I like. I like an antagonist that's like, what's another example of that? That's like being held at bay, for a while, and they know that at some point it's going to
it's
erupt.
A Jujutsu Kaisen sort of situation.
Yeah, it totally is.
But I kind of like this a lot more. Yeah, this was so awesome. This is when, Gigi starts using that spirit ball, kicking it around like a soccer ball, talking about why he's the perfect vessel. He's athletic. He's, in tune with his spiritual powers. The worm gets afraid and flees because of Gigi. And then it's Okarun versus Gigi, which was so crazy. Again, one of those badass lines. Gigi creates a home barrier to trap Okarun in. Okarun can't get out. Gigi could just waltz right through. And then Gigi says, "I'm home." And I was like, okay, dude, you can stop being cool as fuck any second now.
Well, you have that. It's that, it's the same as Turbo Granny. Like when Okarun turns into Turbo Granny is like the coolest lines. He's just like, "You son of a bitch." Like they're both the same. Yeah.
Well, Okarun had his share of cool lines too, where when they're fighting and he says, "You did 4 things wrong."
Oh yeah.
That was such an awesome line. He flashes back to he's like, "Number 1, you hurt Momo. Number 2, you hurt Gigi. Number 3, you did this, and number 4,
you pissed me off."
Yeah.
You pissed me off.
And that's when he does this little squat move.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
so sick.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Sickest thing ever. And he helped Momo get out of there because he shot her on a couch up, and then she used her powers from that point. It was just like cool shit on top of cool shit on top of cool shit. And I know this is Dandadan. I've read this before. This is 3 or 4 arcs in. I should be numb to this by now, but I'm more excited. Not numb, but
I should be numb to this story.
I should have built
not
up
be taking it in at all.
I should have built up some sort of tolerance. You know what I mean?
Things about tolerance breaks when you come back to it is stronger than ever. Okay.
That's true. Very true. Just such a cool finale, 3rd act, final sequences, fights that are happening here.
And again, the callbacks, the setup to everything, in a way matters no matter how small you think it is. I loved, when Momo's trying to figure out how to defeat this worm thing because it is kind of wreaking havoc and there is a volcano going to erupt and the lady's like, "See what you've done, you've ruined it." And she's like switching up gods. She's like, "I'm going to kill you in the name of the volcano." And she's like, "You're switching up gods now? Like, that's not how it works.
What is the snake lord? Chopped liver?
Yeah, it was so funny. And she's trying to figure it out. And then she actually just like remembers a moment because even, her talking to him, she's like, "Were we ever even friends? Like, I don't remember us. Like, were we really that close? Like, you bullied me, I guess. I guess he like made fun of her, whatever." But they have like this really cute moment, flashback to when they're kids, about him telling her about worms and what they do. And during summer, they come up and it's too hot because there's no moisture.
Well, yeah.
They don't like moisture. They
breathe through their skin.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it rains, the soil gets soaked up with water.
They can't breathe.
They can't breathe. They suffocate. So they come out. But when they come out, the sun dries them out. This worm's greatest weakness is the sun. So she's trying to lure it out. And because of this like scientific just fact, this thing in nature that happens, worms to survive end up going to their death. And they call it, like, she thinks back on Gigi telling her, "Yeah, it's worm suicide."
Yeah, that was awesome.
Which plays back into why that worm would have the ability to make other people want to unalive themselves.
And that reveal, we never really found out like why his parents were in the hospital.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, they got hurt by the ghost or whatever." And it's like they freaking tried to kill like in front of him. Like he had to deal with that. Like poor Gigi, man. Like he's been going through it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this whole like fight, portion was so incredible, and it felt like I was watching it move. Like it wasn't on a page, like it wasn't in panel form, like it was in motion. It was amazing. After it's all kind of coming to a head, Momo and the worm comes out and catches on fire. Momo ends up using the carcass, the dead body of the worm, as a fire hose. And that was a really cool moment too, where she realizes that it's just a tube, basically. So she runs to the hot spring. She doesn't want this prophecy to come true. She doesn't want the other people, innocent people in this village, to get hurt by the volcano erupting. So she just like hooks its butt up to the hot spring and then runs with the mouth and then uses her powers, to kind of just move it around like a giant fire hose. And she sets the house on fire to call the fire department in, and that's what the rain causes, the rain from the fire hoses and all this stuff. But so fucking cool. So fucking cool. This whole time, we kind of cut away from Okuran because he had gone to try to save Turbo Granny and fell into this goo and got stuck. But Gigi's back on the surface, and it's like, at first it's Momo versus the Kito family, because the Kito family finally corners her, and they're like, you
ruined everything.
You're ruining everything. She's having a hard time, like, holding her own. So the guy from the shrine shows up. The guy who wants to be a bootuber.
You find out that her grandma is his, like, master.
Fuck yeah. And he's helping. He's like, I'll hold them off so you can go do your thing. But then Gigi shows back up.
And now they're like, we all have to band together.
And you want to talk about some fucking One Piece shit? That was some fucking One Piece shit right there.
Totally. They're like, okay, well, I guess. And then she's like the Kito family, she's using her move, and awesome.
She's using her move, the Jennifer Lopez Anaconda, which was just like, this is Dandadan. This is what it does. This is why I love it.
I love it. Like Chiquita, like, I love, like I think she's like gracias. Like, there's like Spanish words, there's like slang words, there's like cuss words. It's just so fun. Like, the dialogue choices are so hilarious. The
first time she used that move, I thought, maybe that's just like a funny thing. But then you find out she uses it again. Like, that's the name of her move. It's great. It's great. They all team up in a very imple down, kind of way, where it's just like, no matter who you're with, we're all uniting to fight this like common enemy. And the mother gets her like arm fucking broken. The guy's doing his best and he gets taken out. Momo's doing her best and she gets kind of taken out. But right before she's about to get taken out, someone comes in to help, and it is the shrimp guy,
Shrimpy,
as they call
Shrimpy.
him, who's talking about how he owes it to them to help, and he brought help with him. And it's the grandma, it's the spaceship, the Mickey Mouse Millennium Falcon
swooping in, coming to save the day. It opens up, she's literally like riding the atomical body guy, and she's just like standing on him like this. And we got like Chiquita in the loading
cockpit,
dock, in the cockpit, and everyone's just there to swoop in and save the day.
Yeah.
And
it's
they do it so quickly. The grandma does it so quickly.
She comes down, she's
boom,
Negan
boom.
with her fucking bat and shit, fucking swinging that around, and uses again the reason that this whole character was introduced in the first place. And now it all is coming together. It's all making sense because of that thing that he can do where his body breaks apart. It breaks apart and reforms around Gigi. And the face thing opens, and now we see that the grandma has put those seals on the inside to trap this spirit. Holy fuck, holy shit, crazy. After all this is like resolved, Momo starts to wonder about Okuran, and then, Chiquita goes and pulls them out of this hole with the tractor beam. She's feeling kind of guilty that she didn't get to stay true to her word and save him, and he's feeling guilty because he didn't stay true to his word and help her because Gigi got away. But there's this very sweet moment because they're still covered in goo, and that goo, basically they're in some sort of like, it almost looks like some protective shell or thing. And Okuran's sticky. He trips and falls into Momo, and they're stuck together, and he feels awkward and weird, but she's like, and she's just hugs him. And it was just, I love this.
They thought they were going to die.
I love it. Such a great, just lead up, build up, execution of the final events to this moment. Like, wow. Oh my God. After all that happens, they end up going back home. There you see a ceremony with the guy from the shrine and grandma and Momo all in this like traditional sort of like garb.
Trying to exercise the dummy.
Mm-hmm. And the dummy opens up at one point. It's like, you're wasting your time.
Total like Exorcist vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really struggling. They're really doing whatever they can do to get him exorcised. But seems like they have no success. So they're just going to kind of leave him in there. And then there's another dinner. And in the middle of that dinner, we see the anatomy doll kind of topple over, and now it's Gigi's voice, and he's saying like, what happened? Like everything went black. Like, where am I? And I think it's because they spilled something on him.
Yeah, hot water. Hot water makes
cold
Gigi.
Water, yeah.
No, hot water makes Gigi turn to Gigi. Cold water.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he must have got something cold spilled on him.
No, it's hot water that makes him turn back to Gigi.
It's cold water because
I thought it was hot water.
Because
they all have to carry hot water. No,
they have to carry hot water. Maybe you're right. They have to carry hot water.
Well,
because the only thing I thought then,
because cold water will make him turn back to the evil eye for sure. She goes, anything, watch out for cold water. If it's the slightest cold, you will turn back into that. So everyone have everyone have hot water so you can splash it in his face.
Right, because
hot
they
water.
said that then. Okay, I think I was confused then because they say, she says, which I like, because this is a thing as well. It seems to be an homage to. I'm sure it's been done more than this, but what I was able to pull from was Ranma 1/2, which is an old anime manga. I think written by the same mangaka that did Inuyasha, I believe. Anyway, similar thing. Hot springs, sort of. There's this dad and son at a hot springs, a cursed hot spring. They fall into the water, and then for Ranma, it turns him like hot water turns him into a girl, and then cold water turns him into a guy, and then the dad, it's like hot water turns him into a dad, and then cold water turns him into a panda. Yeah,
dad,
whatever. Yeah. But the reason I liked it here is because a lot of times you assume like, okay, it's just a splash of water or whatever, but the grandma tells him like, no, it's like if you drink any beverages that are, I guess, yeah, then it would be, he can't drink any cold beverages, right? He can't drink cold water. He can't drink, he can't anything cold. He can't take cold showers. He can't and I like that because now this is like a major inconvenience to him day to day. He has to only drink hot beverages, only take hot showers, which who doesn't want to take a nice hot shower? Cold showers
people like cold showers.
They have their benefits, like to wake you up or something,
And they're good for your skin, I hear.
Yeah.
And your hair.
No, they're really good for your skin, but
and your hair.
And your hair too.
Yeah. Hot water strips it.
Damn. I mean, who
we can't have anything.
Yeah. Who made that a thing? Because now it's so hard to go back. Like, who made hot showers, a thing?
So good.
So good, so bomb.
Yeah.
Because it seems like cold water is just way better for you, but I'm just too used to hot water.
Yeah, imagine if you were just you just consistently were, raised to do cold showers, you wouldn't really know a difference.
Exactly. Damn. Anyway, is that why ice baths are so good for
yes.
you? Anyway, wow. I was wrong. You were right. You were absolutely right. Hot water turns him into Gigi, and cold water turns him into the evil eye.
Evil eye.
This is what he's stuck with now. And they say well, this is going to be inconvenient. And he kind of looks at, he kind of makes a funny face. We get a little caught up with Shrimp Guy and just funny and Chiquita.
Oh my God, Arya's obsessed with him.
I love him.
He's freaking Chopper over here. He's just
he's like a little minion.
He is like a minion. He's just kind of walking around, and she's literally gushing over him. You can stay here. Don't worry about it. I guess the milk, the cow that they got doesn't produce milk. So he's yeah, I had to come back and get another one, but it turns out I'm just going to live here now.
No,
so.
it produced milk. It just didn't produce it where they live because he gives this long explanation about how
oh, yeah, you're right.
He's yeah, I didn't think about this, but on my planet, our air is like water, is like liquid, is like water. So I couldn't even milk him. So I just decided
you didn't think about that?
Yeah, that's what they say. That didn't even cross your mind even once.
So he's just going to live on Earth now.
Yeah.
On some farm.
Fucking cool because they have this ally.
Yeah.
And even when he leaves, he's like, I'll come back whenever. I'm just a phone call away. I loved it. After he leaves, everybody gets into the van and they go to the hospital. What an incredibly emotional moment all of this was. Between Momo and Okurin in the backseat of the car or in the backseat of the van, how sweet was that? And how real was that moment? And we already kind of talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but just like, again, that awkwardness and how they deal with it. It just hit me. On top of Gigi being overcompensating and being overly silly and hyper, and trying to minimize and trying to downplay everything. When Momo or Okurin asks him, like, aren't you like excited or aren't you like worried? When she like worried about your parents? And he's like, they work too hard. They're too energetic, just like me. They needed a week off. This did them probably good. They needed to take a break. And I think one of them says like, you don't have to try so hard. And he's like, what do you try so hard? What do you mean? And then it cuts to him seeing them in the hospital and he's just like tears.
Well, it's like everything. I mean, if they didn't end up, dying from the evil eye, like they were going to be like sacrificed, like the possibilities of their end were like so tragic, and he was just like, oh, like relief, like I'm so happy, like neither of those worked out.
Yeah, that I mean, the whole time, like you even said, like the whole time, us not knowing that's what his parents went through, and that he was kind of shouldering that and carrying that the whole time, and finally here at the end, he just like lets it all go and is so relieved to be done with all this, to be safe. For them to be safe. Yeah,
he's not necessarily the safest.
No. So funny. And then so funny because there was like this touching moment, and then the body is, he can't move the body. The anatomic doll has to move the body.
And I want to know how big this anatomic doll was, because this motherfucker is huge. When his parents were hugging him, they were like right here to him. I was like, how big is this anatomical model? Like, damn.
I don't know. But it's funny because they get Momo and Okurin. They have his head, and they're like, he's like, it's hard to just control the body without a head. I'm just getting used to it. I'm learning. I'm trying. And they're like, you're making an emotional moment. Very weird right now. And that was very funny. And then there's like a news broadcast where they talk about Juchi Kito, which made me think that all of this and a big part of what we saw in the whole was like a Junji Ito sort of nod to him. And the Junji Kito has escaped and been found guilty of all these crimes, as well as Naki Kito, who's like in the woods, still kind of fucked up and beaten up, and reveals herself to be a subterranean. And says that
yeah, and I kind of knew something was. Obviously she's like much older than like what she was leading on, because it's like, okay, you were here like 200 years ago, but also like the face cracks.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
all of the family, like when they were all kind of beaten up, they all had like face cracks like all over. That was like, why do y'all look like that?
I kind of forgot, but you're absolutely right. I forgot because I noticed it. And just thought, like, maybe she's just that old. Maybe she's like so ancient. She's going to turn to fucking dust right now.
But it's all of them. It's the whole Kito family for sure, because all of them had those cracks.
Yeah. Crazy. The subterranean things look crazy too.
Yeah.
Wild. And
so it's an alien.
Yeah, they
had like alien plans for this town or for the worm. A lot of commitment on the alien's part. I mean, that's a lot of time committed to sacrificing beings.
I mean, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You got to for the planet, for their planet, for their people. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Anyway, and that's where it ends with the subterranean Naki Kito revealing to be a subterranean and saying that Momo Ayase has made an enemy of them. Dun, dun, dun. And that's the end of the Curse House arc. What a fantastic.
Awesome.
Wow. Round of applause for that fucking banger of an arc. What an incredible arc. It's hard to clap and switch at the same time. What an incredible arc. Probably, like I've said a million times, one of my favorite Dandadan arcs. Mehgan, give us your final thoughts that people want to know.
I mean, this was definitely one of my favorite arcs, and I hadn't felt this excited than before in Dandadan as I did in reading the first chapter. Like the very first chapter, I was like blown away because it felt like a complete just one shot. It felt like a complete story. It wasn't even in the first volume, I don't think. I think we get the first volume, like, I think it's right around the whole thing with Turbo Granny's resolved. Isn't that right?
I think that's the first like arc or volume.
Yeah, the first chapter is just like cherry blossom at the end of that first chapter is that cherry blossom scene.
I think like, the reveal of the name.
The name,
right?
Yeah, and I was like,
yeah,
I am obsessed with this.
So you're saying that this is the most excited you've been
since then? I mean, I'm not saying anything else was bad. I mean, it's all been great, but I remember just like that feeling of like, wow, like getting excited about what's to come. Like this is already amazing in the first chapter. Like what? How could this get any better?
Yeah.
And reading this whole arc, I was just like reminded of everything great about the series again and again and again. And literally like no one is doing it like Dandadan.
No one is doing it at all like Dandadan, and I'm glad that we waited for this arc to be finished. I don't know what it would have felt like reading it week to week, and I don't know if it felt this amazing because we had taken such a break from it. But coming back to it again, like I said, was one of the most enjoyable reading experiences I've had outside of like One Piece. Obviously has been amazing, but outside of that, discovering new series like Akane Banashi and other things that we have found have been really good, have been better than good. But this was such an experience. This felt so like I was just. It really. I enjoyed every second of it.
It really does. And anyone, I mean, for me, semi new to reading more manga in the past 2 years. I definitely read more manga than I had ever read in my entire existence as an anime fan. I was like anime only for years. So if you are one of those people that, you know, are only anime onlys and you're looking for a manga to like get into to be like one of the first ones that like kind of branch you off into other things, like this one is perfect because it just feels like I'm watching an anime because everything is the pacing, the fighting, everything's so fluid and awesome and entertaining and exciting. And it's just all of those things, all those like emotions that I get from like watching, like an anime. It's in this. And I mean, obviously it's manga, but it's great. It's just translated so well.
Yeah, I'm so like re-energized and fucking lit on Dandadan. I'm so just excited, and I'm so glad that we were able to cover this and that we were able to do this, and that's what we want these to be. The reason why we're doing our volume ones live now, for this reason and other reasons that we've stated in previous episodes and in previous lives and stuff. But to be able to take the time, the extra time to read a little bit more than we would normally read for a volume one, to cover an arc of a series that we haven't revisited in a long time or have been meaning to revisit. This was a pleasure. This was a blast. This was an experience. This was amazing. This was so many things. And like I said, it was one of the best experiences that I've had reading in a long time. Like, again, we come across a lot of good stuff, a lot of okay stuff, some bad stuff. But again, outside of One Piece, like this is like, I was so fucking jazzed every single chapter and it moved, man. Like Mehgan said, the pacing is out of control. The aesthetic, the vibe, the characters, the dialogue, the emotion, the heart, the absurdity.
It has
the hilarity,
everything I want in a manga. Like not taking itself too seriously, but when the serious moments happen, I believe them. It is all goofy, but when the scary moments happen, I believe them. Like it just is able to hit so many notes and it not feel like super jammed and they're trying to do too much at once. Like it's amazing. It's amazing how the manga is able to convey all of these different emotions at the same time, and you just to believe it and not be like, hey, that's kind of out of place. Like, hey, that's kind of weird because it is so like,
or that didn't really make sense, or that's
like it's just great.
Yeah,
it's just a great time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This was so much fun. This was so much fun. And I obviously, I hope if you're listening to this, I hope you've read this already. But if you haven't and you just like listening to these to help time pass, then or to get through a study session or a work day or whatever, and you're just listening to listen, go do yourself a fucking favor and read.
Everything that we recommend, out of everything we read, out of everything that is out right now, this is one that I can't recommend enough for anyone. Literally anyone. It is for anyone. It's not for a specific audience. It's not for a specific age range. It's not for a specific gender, I guess. The whole like shonen shoujo, like it's not, just fucking stop. This is for everyone, and just you have to read it. You have to read it because it's so infectious.
Yes.
The amount of like love you get from this series, because you could just feel it, how much they love doing this story.
I agree. And there's another arc after this, and if you want us to cover that as well, which obviously now we are more excited and ready to do than ever, then just show some love by liking the video, by leaving us a comment in the comment section, telling us what you thought about this arc, how you felt about it. Did you connect with it as much as we did? Did you enjoy it as much as...
Did you like Gigi?
As we did?
Or did you hate Gigi?
Yeah, what were your thoughts on Gigi? And without giving anything away, how does it compare to the arc after, if you're caught up? And again, if you want to see us cover that arc, the way you can let us know is just by liking this video and commenting and watching all the way through. That signals to us that people like hearing about Dandadan, and we love talking about it. So if people are willing to listen, then we're more than willing to keep on talking and keep on keeping on. But that's gonna do it for our Dandadan Cursed House arc discussion. What a blast! But we're not done yet. Before we get out of here, we have to shout out and we have to thank our wonderful, beautiful, amazing Patreon members. Thank every single one of you guys from the bottom of our hearts. Your support means the absolute world to us. We are blown away. We are floored every time we get a notification. It's something that, Mehgan, you have...
Patreon, gotta love them all. His heart's so true. Your courage will pull us through. You love me and we love you. Patreons.
Gotta love them all. Well, it's gotta love them all.
Patreons.
I got the rhythm. It's all jumbled in my head. It's like, Patreon. Gotta love them all. Gotta love them all. Patreon.
Oh, yeah, there's another out there, huh?
Yeah, Patreons. Dude, that's what I'm saying. You threw me off a little bit.
But thank you guys so much.
But thank you guys for real. I mean, again, we love you guys so much.
And you guys help us out not only financially, but when we release videos early to you guys, your comments and what you tell us and what you suggest, your feedback like means the world. You have no idea how helpful that is. So if you are a Patreon member, that helps us out so much. Not only your generous, donations to this channel, but just that alone is so important to us.
Yeah, and does help us out a lot too. Help, take away some anxiety that we might have about releasing a particular episode. You guys are, on the front lines, keeping us
holding it down
and keeping us right. So thank you guys so much from the bottom of our heart. Your support means the absolute world to us. The fact that you choose to give of your own free will, it moves us. It really does. So thank you. But if you're not a Patreon member, because at this moment in time, you don't have the finances or the funds to be, or you just flat out and plain don't want to be, that is totally fine. Because there are so many other things that you can do to show your support that mean just as much, that you can do for absolutely free, and for, I'd say little to almost no effort. I mean, if you just put a video on in the background and just let it play, I mean, that doesn't take a lot of effort, really. But everything else, very little effort and free that you can do to show your support that Mehgan will tell you all about those things right now.
You can support us free 99, totally free. All you have to do is like, subscribe if you haven't, comment on any one of our videos, and it acts as a free tip to us in our channel. It does help us out a lot, and it acts again as a free tip to us if you don't have any money to spare, if you are scarily out of funds, and you need to have your own space.
Yeah. Because if it feels like someone exercised your bank account, and you're just trying to build it back up. Maybe you're saving up for something big. Maybe you're saving up to move out, or maybe you're saving up for those shoes you've always wanted. Or maybe you're at a point in your life where you're saving up for that ring. You got things, and maybe just food. Maybe you just need food, and you just need to survive. You can do all these for free.
And you can be a part of the algorithm gang.
Yes, become gang affiliated.
Algorithm gang. Comment on any one of our videos, and you can comment anything you want. Comment, period. A emoji, algorithm gang, and it helps us out.
Yeah, as well as sharing this video with anybody else you know that loves Dandadan, and leaving us a review and a rating if you're listening to this on an audio platform.
Yeah.
But any and all ways that you choose to show your support mean the fucking world to us.
God.
And we appreciate it.
Good God.
So much.
Oh, Jesus.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for another episode of Volume 1, or technically maybe Volume 1 Plus, if you will. The only thing, and if you won't, okay. The only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro. That's always the same and never changes, which today, Mehgan, is...
We stand Dandadan.
We stand Dandadan. I like it. That's good.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, straight to the point, and fitting. Yeah.
Super fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my clothes don't fit, so that's super fitting.
Oh my
It's the only thing that fits. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time, we stand Dandadan. I'm home. What did you think I was going to say? I'm horny. I'm hungry.
Any and all.
You thought I was going to say both of those things. You thought I was going to lean into the mic and tell people